Good evening and welcome to Breaking Views on NDTV. I am Ankit Tyagi. Ladies and gentlemen, two very important, in fact, stories that we will be talking about today. We begin the show this evening with a face-off on veteran Congress leader Digvijaya Singh's utterance on the surgical strike, which has once again put the Congress on the defensive. And later on the show, we will get you a quick explainer on the collegium system that has now reignited the judiciary versus the government debate. So we will get you to the crux of this matter, what is at the heart of this entire debate which is going on very publicly. Now, let's start with my top focus this evening. There is no proof. This remark on India's 2016 surgical strike by the veteran Congress leader Digvijaya Singh on Monday, who is right now Rahul Gandhi's fellow Bharat Jodo Yatri, has put the Congress party in an uncomfortable spot yet again. And as I said, yet again, because this is not the first time that Mr. Singh has raised doubts on the surgical strikes and burnt his hand doing so. His comments have had a huge backlash and politically has hurt the Congress party as well. But Mr. Singh refuses to learn his lesson, and this time addressing a rally in Jammu during the Bharat Jodo Yatra, he said BJP talks of cross-LOC surgical strike but has not furnished any proof of this claim. And if this was not enough, he even went on his Twitter handle to release a video double downing on his comment. Take a look.
पुलवामा जो कि पूरे तरीके से टेररिज्म का एक केंद्र बन चुका है, वहां हर गाड़ी की चेकिंग होती है। वहां एक स्कॉर्पियो गाड़ी उल्टी दिशा से आती है, उसकी जांच पड़ताल क्यों नहीं हुई? और जांच पड़ताल भी नहीं हुई और उसके बाद वो आके टकराती है और हमारे 40 सीआरपीएफ के जवान शहीद हो जाते हैं। आज तक उस घटना की जानकारी न संसद में उन्होंने पेश की, न जनता के सामने रखी। सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक की बात करते हैं कि हमने इतने लोग मार गिराए, लेकिन प्रमाण कुछ नहीं, केवल झूठ का पुलिंदा से ये राज कर रहे हैं।
पुलवामा में हम लोगों के 40 सीआरपीएफ के जवानों ने जान, आज तक ये बात खुलासा नहीं कर पाई भारत की सरकार कि आखिर ये 3 कुंटल आरडीएक्स आया कहां से। इसके साथ साथ आज तक ये जवाब नहीं दे पाई है कि देवेंद्र सिंह डिप्टी एसपी, जो कि आतंकवादियों से पकड़ा गया, वो आज कहां है? उसको क्यों छोड़ दिया गया? राष्ट्रद्रोह का प्रकरण उसमें क्यों नहीं बना? इसी के साथ साथ हम तो पूछना चाहते हैं प्रधानमंत्री जी से, उनके और पाकिस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री जी के क्या संबंध है, कैसे संबंध है? एक दूसरे की प्रशंसा हो रही है, आखिर इन सब बातों का जवाब तो उन्हें देना चाहिए।
Now, as expected, this statement was met with furious reaction by the Bharatiya Janata Party, which suggested Congress is blinded by its hate of Narendra Modi, and once again said former Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh and his party has insulted the armed forces.
बड़े भारी मन से यह कहना पड़ रहा है कि कांग्रेस पार्टी का चरित्र भारत जोड़ो यात्रा तो नाम की है, भारत को तोड़ने का कार्य स्वयं राहुल गांधी और तमाम कांग्रेस के नेता उनके इशारे पर कर रहे हैं। सुर्खियों में बने रहने के लिए गैर जिम्मेदाराना बयान देना, यह कांग्रेस पार्टी का चरित्र है। लेकिन आप भारतीय सेना के खिलाफ बोलेंगे, यह भारत बर्दाश्त नहीं करेगा।
Now, fully understanding the damage this has caused in the past for the Congress party, and this statement will once again come with a political cost, Jairam Ramesh, Chief of Congress's communication, distanced the party from Singh's comment. He tweeted and also said it does not reflect Congress's position as far as the surgical strikes are concerned or the military operations are concerned. So literally leaving Mr. Digvijaya Singh to fend for himself. But, ladies and gentlemen, the big question that, a lot of people are asking at this moment is, why would you make such a comment? Is this somehow not, it's taking away from what the Congress right now is trying to do? Digvijaya Singh's statement and proof of the proof demand, is it not a surgical strike on Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra, that too at a crucial juncture when it has reached Jammu and Kashmir? It's a sensitive topic there. You're giving it to the BJP on a platter. Or is this somewhere how the Congress party wants to formulate their views despite distancing themselves? Why isn't action being taken? Because that's the question that a lot of critics of the Congress party are asking. It has taken the focus away from the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Very quickly, to discuss this in more detail, let me now, ladies and gentlemen, introduce my guest this evening. Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, defense expert, is joining us this evening. Kapil Madan, leader of the Congress party, is also with us. Ranbir Singh Pathania, BJP spokesperson as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Before, in fact, I go to the political guests, General Shankar, I want to understand from you, sir, when you hear these comments, and repeatedly when you hear these comments, this might have a, political parties might think that it might have a political sting to it, but as an army man, a former army man, and somebody who keeps a very keen eye on the defense affairs, how does this augur as far as the Indian army is concerned, and what is the message that people take back?
Not once, but a million times, the country has been informed time and time again that the armed forces of India belong to the people of India. They do not belong to any political party. They are completely and totally apolitical. Whichever political party gets elected into power, the armed forces work under the directions of that politically duly elected government. And those tasks it performs, which are related directly to the national security, which includes internal security as well as many other issues which require immediate response from a well-organized body.
Right.
So this is the primary thing that we must understand. Anybody who doesn't understand and begins to question its own army is heading towards doomsday. If the army that you possess is the army that your army is, you begin to question.
Right.
When the Director General of Military Operations makes a statement in a public forum on national television and in media, saying that the Indian Army has carried out a surgical strike, I don't think anybody needs to get any more proof about it.
Right.
When the Indian Air Force does a balakot, and after that they come out and say, this is what we have done, and we have sufficient proof to say what we have done, I think if somebody is going to ask them to show those proofs in open public forum, is only mistrusting your own armed forces, which is leading towards, I must say, a disaster. So please let us understand.
Absolutely.
Even in the more recent issues of Eastern Ladakh, even in the more recent issues of Ladakh, the Northern Army commander makes certain statements which appear in the media, and you begin to question them, then I don't think you deserve an army, a political army of the kind that you have, which has been sacrificing over not from yesterday or day before yesterday, but since 1947. If you look at the history of the Indian Army, the way people have given their lives to protect this country from all kinds of things, I think we should be only grateful to them and not even question them. Yes, you are entitled to question them in a democracy.
Yes.
But once the answers are provided, I don't think you can go on dissecting them for years after years.
No arm, as far as this country is concerned, no arm of this country in a democracy is above questions. But the fact is that this is an army. And as General Shankar Prasad very, very aptly has put, Mr. Madan, they have repeatedly come out. Army has released statements. Post that, if you're trying to utilize this just to hit out at your political opponents, you're not only doing a disservice to the Indian Army, but you're also doing disservice to this ethos of this country, to the constitution of this country. Why is Mr. Digvijaya Singh not reprimanded? No action is taken against him if he keeps repeating these statements.
Well, Ankit, I think, you're looking at Mr. Digvijay's statement in a very narrow and a pedantic way. Now, he's highlighted 2 points and you're trying to, confuse and mix 2 points. Now, the initial part of the statement, Mr. Digvijaya Singh has rightly and has asked pertinent question wherein he's seeking accountability of how, such RDX or the explosive, could enter in our country. Point number 1. Second, there is an admitted report that a person from the police force, namely Devinder Singh, was arrested on terror charges and he was, released thereafter because the government didn't file the charge sheet in time and he got a default bail. Now, I am raising a red flag here. Imagine a situation where someone is facing a terror charge and the government does not file a charge sheet in time and the person walks out of the jail, just because the government, the prosecuting authorities didn't file the charge sheet well within time. Now, you need to analyze Mr. Digvijay's statement from that context. Now, what was he trying to highlight?
Sir, it has taken you almost a minute to give me a context of what Mr. Digvijaya Singh was saying.
The fact remains, sir. Ankit, this is unfair.
I played out. Hold on.
This is unfair.
How is this unfair, Mr. Madan?
I am making a point.
Please don't act like Mr. Digvijaya Singh. You are making a statement. I have a full right to come in, intervene and ask you a counter question on that. You are taking one part of his statement. I am talking about the part in which Mr. Digvijaya Singh has gone on said, Mr. Madan, either you can keep speaking or we can keep wasting our time, precious time, on air time. So let me ask the question and then you complete, sir.
I know my expose, completely, blows your narrative apart. That's the reason why you're anxious.
Absolutely.
On the channel.
I'm so anxious, sir. I'm so anxious by your explosive expose that your own communication chief had to come out and say, Mr. Madan, your own communication chief today had to come out and say that Mr. Digvijaya Singh, whatever he has said is not Congress's position. So rather, why don't you explain this explosive position to Mr. Jairam Ramesh, who seems to be understanding that Mr. Digvijaya Singh has made a mistake?
Ankit, you have preempted me. I said it very, very categorically that I was in middle of my argument. I only raised the first part. You've interjected me for whatever reasons, I don't know, but you've not even, allowed me to complete my point. Now, my second aspect, insofar as, Mr. Digvijay's statement where he makes a reference ki proof nahi diya, proof, now you can dissect his statement and you can have a narrow interpretation and say, no, he was seeking a proof of the surgical strike. Now, he was also seeking a proof of the fact that how, and what was the accountability? How did the government prosecute it? Is there any report? Who takes the accountability and responsibility of the fact
Pathania, you heard what Mr. Madan is saying. He's trying to dissect it. He's trying to play. It's a larger question that the government, that Mr. Digvijaya Singh was asking of the government. It is also the question about how, of course, did the RDX and how did Pulwama take place? The government, instead of every time when a question is asked on how did this entire conspiracy take place, why was the government sleeping on the wheel, how could RDX come in, because that's also the responsibility of the government, you try and turn it around on an individual statement and then you say that they are insulting the army.
Ankit, the agendaless, purposeless and issueless Congress has lost the moral, ethical and the political impulse. The statement of Digvijaya Singh, then one thing you have not referred to. One correspondent of India Today was manhandled today in full public view by Jairam Ramesh. Then his tweet and then the learned spokesperson, I'm not able to understand. The one sentence of General Saab has closed the issue, closed the lid on the matter, that a statement by Director General Military Operations, which even P. Chidambaram you are displaying, he's saying, but it closes the entire issue. But the lead question remains that Congress needs to answer a volley of questions while they address and they engage in the Bharat Jodo Yatra in Jammu and Kashmir. We have said Congress needs to clear its stand on Article 370. The entire Constituent Assembly was opposed to induction of Article 370 in the Indian Constitution. It was Nehruji who boxed the compass, who obliged Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah, and ultimately he had to say that it's a temporary provision. Then another committee during the rule of Indira Ji, it said that clock cannot be put back. Then Narasimha Rao Ji.
Mr. Pathania, but you have done that. I don't understand why we are mixing two topics. You have done that. If you talk about questions, sir, then in Jammu and Kashmir, people today met Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Kashmiri Pandits, and they said they have been let down by your government. So the questions on the security of the Kashmiri Pandits and what is happening in the valley, those are different questions. What I want to understand from you, sir, while the army and what army did, that has been clarified. Why shouldn't the opposition parties ask you questions about why did Pulwama take place? Why was the government sleeping on the wheel that RDX could come in and this kind of a operation could take place?
Ankit, in one sentence, I said that this is a ploy, this is a tactic by the Congress to deviate the debate from the main issue. They need to address the sporadic questions which the people of Jammu and Kashmir are putting to the Congress. Why this Jammu and Kashmir is festering since the past 7 decades? That is due to
Kapil Madan. You know, one problem, or at least one complaint that Mr. Jairam Ramesh and the Congress party has had is that you don't give enough focus on the Bharat Jodo Yatra and the issues that the Bharat Jodo Yatra is raising. Yes. While your own leaders, if they come out and make such statements for which your communications head has to come out himself and say, please, these are not the stated position of the Congress party, do not attribute them to the Congress party, it is Digvijaya Singh, not us. Your leader is yourself taking away the focus and the spotlight from Bharat Jodo Yatra.
So Ankit, I would just, give you a very specific and a very short answer to that. Now, again, I said, I don't want to reiterate my argument. Now, Mr. Digvijay's statement has been misquoted. It has been presented in a totally different context. And, to some extent, there are, a section of the media who wants to portray a statement in a particular manner rather than asking the right questions that how could, incident like Pulwama happen?
But is that also an argument to Mr. Jairam Ramesh?
Now, yes. Now, in that context, the fact that, a false narrative has been, spread in a particular manner, and therefore a clarification has come that, if someone has raised a question about...
Sir, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're trying to say. You're saying a false narrative, but your communications head comes and says that whatever he has said is his own. It's not of the Congress party. So he could have said that it's a false narrative. But General Prasad, while the questions on the army, of course, there should not be questions on the valor of the army. And you also said that, in this democratic institution, everybody can ask these questions.
Point here.
So, but when you see...
I have an important point to make. Very quickly. Now, I would just, remind the BJP spokesperson here. So we have our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, who very categorically in 2013 made a public statement wherein he said that, our army is weak. Now, I don't know, on what pretext, the BJP spokesperson comes here and misquotes a statement and say that questioning the government is technically questioning the army.
General Prasad, I just want to understand this from you, because we have been hearing and then political parties of different hue and colors, they try and attach a motive to what they say. The fact is, sir, as a senior rank officer, as somebody who has been watching affairs for a very, very long time, is there now somewhere, political parties, if I may use the word, without any regard for the army or the impact it will have on the army is being politicized more than it used to be? Army is now in the political battleground?
Yes, I must say very clearly that any such comments that come out about the army is only going to damage the people and the party they say so. We must understand that every single part of the country is represented in the Indian army, from northeast to southeast to west and to everywhere else. And we have enemies surrounding us. Every family in every border area has got some people fighting today in some border area or the other. And the families are worried about they're sacrificing their lives for the nation. And if the nation begins to doubt them, and if the nation wants them to say every time you kill a man, please bring a body to Delhi and show us the body, is that how we're going to work? I must say here that if you begin to say these kind of things, your political party, your fellow who is giving these statements is only going to cause damage.
Right.
It's not going to get you any benefits, is my understanding. Now, as far as the question is concerned, every political party, as I said in my first presentation, has got right to ask questions.
Right.
Certainly ask questions. But once the question has been answered,
Yes.
you can't go and asking that question once again and again and again.
Okay.
Tomorrow you want to say, I want to see all the dead bodies that were there. How are
Okay.
we going to do that? I mean, is that the correct thing?
Absolutely.
And
And
please understand, national security is not something like, it is a very secure matter.
Absolutely.
There is a lot
And
of
national
intelligence
security
involved
and
in
the
it. There are
matters of the
intelligence
army
agencies.
is
You want
not
to put
something-
everything on the cards in front of the people so that the enemy can take advantage of it?
You're right.
I can't
It's not
understand
something
why
that can
people
be
don't know
discussed on
that the
public
military
platforms. You have
operations
to
are
be
done not by
very,
itself.
very
It
sensitive
has got
about
lots of
such
intelligence
matters.
agencies that
Mr.
support that operation.
Mr. Pathania, but in the end, the Congress has distanced itself from Digvijaya Singh's comments. Why is the BJP jumping on it now? Are you also using this to try and take away whatever limelight or at least the kind of traction that Rahul Gandhi is getting of Bharat Jodo Yatra?
Absolutely not, Ankit. Absolutely not. One thing very, very clear. I was trying to submit earlier also. Rahul Gandhi used the word pitai. What the Indian forces did with the Chinese forces, the entire India, the entire world saw it on social media. They said the फौजों की पिटाई हुई वहाँ पे. So demeaning and disrespecting armed forces is something inherent and intrinsic with the Congress party. We want that the Congress party should respond to the live issues with the people of Jammu and Kashmir want to raise while the Bharat Jodo Yatra meanders through the courts of Jammu and Kashmir. They want to avoid a value judgment debate.
Okay, I'm completely out of time. Mr. Madan, 10 seconds to you to wrap up. Should Mr. Digvijay Singh not be told that don't make these comments? It have hurt the Congress politically. The Congress will do well if such comments are not repeated in future.
So, Ankit, I would, reiterate my argument here that, you are, and a section of the media is trying to misquote him. He has asked pertinent question, but yes, I do agree with you. I mean, insofar as the issue of surgical strike is concerned, when the army has given a statement, we should all stick by that statement, but that does not absolve the government from the fact that, they still need to answer how.
So don't ask questions of the army and don't confuse those questions as questions too. In fact, don't ask. You can ask questions to the government. Don't confuse them as questions to the army is what the Congress is saying. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me at this moment. That's all the time that I have on this discussion tonight. In fact, moving on very, very quickly. You've been hearing a lot of noises around, people are saying that this is a face-off which is taking place between the judiciary and the government. Collegium system is at the heart of this entire face-off. Let's very quickly, on Breaking News Explain, give you a lowdown, a full, quick sheet on what the collegium system is, which is at the center of this entire controversy. Now, judges, what is the collegium system? Judges are appointed, transferred and elevated by a collegium. Now, Supreme Court collegium, the CJI plus 4 senior most judges, they form the collegium which elects the judges. The HC collegium is Chief Justice of the High Court and 2 other senior most judges. Now, the government, ladies and gentlemen, has zero role as far as the selection of the judges is concerned. Collegium sends final names of the judges to the appointed government. Like we've been seeing that, the government can then raise objections or seek clarifications. The government is bound to appoint the judges if the collegium reiterates the same names. Now, the government does its checks and balances. There are investigations that take place and then they can raise objections. But if the court says no and gives an explanation about these objections, then the government is bound by the advice of the collegium system. Now, when did the collegium system come into effect? The collegium system came into effect in the year 1993. Now, a 9-judge bench changed the earlier system. The changed meaning after the consultation with to, after concurrence with in Article 124/2. The change took away the government's power or the government's say in appointment of the judges. So they were not, the collegium was not bound by the government's advice. They just had to take government's advice. It was up to them what they make of that advice. There has been certain criticisms of this collegium system as well. What is the criticism? And that is why there is a lot of conversation going around whether it needs to be changed. But what are the criticisms that people talk about? Non-transparent, closed-door affair. Many say that this is the only system across the globe where judges elect judges. No records of how the decisions, in fact, are taken. No official minutes of the collegium proceedings, though recently we have seen that the collegium, the CJI did release, in fact, that it took 4 hours, and the other details, what were the objections which were made by the government and the answer to those objections in the name of certain judges. Now, this is an ongoing battle, and why is it now turned into a government versus judiciary? Because the government wants a say in the appointment of the judges. Kiren Rijiju has apparently written a letter to the CJI where he said that he wants panel with the government representation to advise the collegium. The Supreme Court has hit back, and the Supreme Court has said that the government is delaying the judges' appointment. There is already pending cases, massive backlog. The collegium, for the first time, made exchanges between the government with the government public. Mr. Rijiju then had later tweeted on another ex-judge who has expressed his views against the collegium system. So this is the latest as far as this entire saga is concerned with the government versus judiciary system. The fact is, as the Chief Justice of India has also said, ladies and gentlemen, no system is foolproof. But at this moment, this is the laid down principle, this is the laid down law, and till the time some change happens, collegium is how the judges will be elected. That's all the time that we have in this edition of Breaking News. Thank you so much. Good night.